Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Spider here, the Fight Card Podcast, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. As always, I have my guest. I have Brandon Wakefield, my man. You are coming out of Victoria, Texas, bro. Now, of course, I have a lot of questions I wanted to ask. Before we get into this upcoming fight, of course, for Tap or Scrap, I wanted to ask you as far as your time in the sport. Now, how long have you been training for?
So I started when I was 18, so that was a good 15 years ago. I started training. I actually started in judo and trained in judo for a long time before I took my first MMA fight. We had a little MMA program in our judo class. So I took my first 3 fights under my judo instructor. And my first MMA fight was in 2015. So we're looking at what, 8 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Give or take, man. It's been a while. But let me ask you though, now that you bring up judo, man, what in judo took you into combat sports? Obviously they had an MMA program, but when you signed up for judo, was that kind of something you were leaning towards?
Yeah, man. So that was the plan. It's actually crazy how I ended up getting into martial arts in general. I was going through a real hard time. I was into a lot of drugs and I was doing all the wrong things when I was 18, making all the wrong decisions. And I decided to hit up a counselor here in Victoria. Right. Because I was struggling and I needed to figure out something to do that was a little bit more productive than what I was doing. So I went and saw this counselor. His name's Rick Torres here in Victoria. He's a judo instructor. And I was just voicing my concerns. I was telling him I was tired of living the lifestyle that I was living and I needed something to get me out of this funk. And I was like living in this rundown house with no electricity, drywall was falling off the walls. It was bad. And so I was telling him what was going on and that I always wanted to get into MMA. And he said, you know what, I'll tell you what, if you can clean yourself up, no drugs, no alcohol, I'll train you for free. That next day we started training and the rest is a wrap. So I spent 5-6 years training under him, took my first 3 fights under him, and then I realized I need to evolve my striking, I need to evolve my BJJ, and I need to get a little bit more away from the traditional martial arts, but that was my foot in the door.
No, for sure, man. And the fact that you bring up, being in the funk and having to kind of get out of that. Mixed martial arts, like I keep telling people, it's an art form. It is, and one of the things about, and I always say this also, bro, but one of the things about depression, the opposite of depression is expression. So of course, martial arts, what better way to express yourself, right? For sure. And now, of course, you brought up those 3 fights, man. Those were, like you said, years since you actually in the, was it in the ring or was it in the cage?
It was in the cage. When I first started fighting, I was a young kid, full of ego. So I was fighting anyone at any weight, whatever I could get, and I thought I was the baddest dude on the planet. So my first fight was a super quick win. Ended up winning in the first round. And then I started getting into drama with one of your San Antonio guys that's from Victoria. And we had a lot of drama back and forth, but I wasn't training like I should have been training, and he ended up putting it on me pretty good at 170, and that's when I realized 170 guys, they're a little too big for me.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, bro. Especially right now. You got 220-pound guys cutting all the way up to 155, man. That's crazy. But this upcoming fight, like I mentioned, it is for the Tap or Scrap promotion. Their 3rd installment. It is going to be in Victoria. This is October 21st. Now, my question to you, man, is because you've been away from the game for so long. As far when it comes to competition, right? Mixed martial arts, but your gym, man. You're actually the owner of Satori Mixed Martial Arts.
Correct.
And where does it come from?
So Satori, it's there's a couple different meanings and variations of it. And I'm not Buddhist, but in Buddhism, it means sudden enlightenment. In Japan, the term Satori refers to what Americans would call like flow state. So the state of thoughtlessness, the state of training so hard and long in something that you no longer have to think about it. You just react with the right answers.
Okay, so it fits your style. right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's it. That's exactly when I first started striking. That's kind of the mode that I try to get into. I try to tap into that state of flow state and reactiveness. And it's funny because the first gym I started was named Flow State. And I had some business partners in that gym. And so when I ended up leaving those guys to do my own gym, I kind of wanted to keep my similar concept, but I had to restructure the name.
No, no, for sure, man. And I mean, the gym, man, how long has it been around?
So I've had Satori for 3 years now. We've been up and running for 3 years, and then we had Flow State for 2 years before that. So I've been owning and coaching for the past 5 years.
And of course, man, like I mentioned, I mean, this is going to be for the featherweight title. I mean, you are going to be fighting locally, and being the gym owner, I got to ask you, bro, do you have a lot of pressure? Are you feeling a lot of pressure going into this bout?
Yeah, man, I think anytime I've fought, there's been a lot of pressure. You never want to let people down, you know what I mean? And especially with so many people coming to support, you always feel like the expectations are super high. And then considering that I teach, you know, a whole gym full of students, you know, it's not a good look to go out there and, you know, not perform well and expect them to view you the same as a coach, you know? So I definitely think there are some risks associated with putting myself out there, but I think the risk of not competing and not proving to these guys that I'm training to compete, that if I'm not willing to do it, why should they be willing to do it? You know what I mean? And one thing I don't care about as much is you know, winning and losing. And I know it sounds crazy. I'm always going to go out there to win, but what's important to me is going out there and showing up and presenting my best self. I think if I do that, I've yet to lose supporters. I have lost fights before, and I have the people that have supported me from day one are still there today, you know, because I go out there, I always make the fight entertaining, and I always try to show my skill set. And I think at the end of the day, that's really all I can do. So as much as there is pressure, I think there's more pressure for me to get in there and show these guys what A, I'm capable of, and B, what they're capable of if they put their minds to it.
No, no, for sure, man. Now, when it comes to the card, do you have students of your own competing on that night?
No, so I had students that wanted to, but I didn't feel that as a coach that would have been fair. I wouldn't have been able to focus on them. I wouldn't have been able to give them the full attention that they needed. So in order for me to get back into the cage, I will say it's taken some sacrifice on my students' parts, because I'm a lot more selfish with my training and my time. So I'm not doing privates for them right now. I'm not in here focused on every single little thing, and I've made it very clear to them that was the case, and they've been very receptive of it, thank goodness. But yeah, unfortunately, when you're fighting, it's you got to be pretty selfish. And so that being said, I do have 3 fighters fighting not this weekend but next weekend for Texas Clash.
Okay.
So we've been getting these guys ready, holding competitions classes for all of us, and so we've got 3 fighting the week before I fight.
Okay, sweet, man. Now let me ask you, bro, because as a coach, I mean, of course, I'm sure you've seen your good apples and bad apples, you know. But what are some of the things that you look at when a student comes to your gym and they're like, "Hey, I want to fight"? I mean, of course, you're not gonna sign them up to something. I mean, do you kind of like talk to them, work them out, and see if they're ready?
Yeah, man. And so that's probably the number one thing that happens in here is people come in like ready to fight, and I just think people kind of don't have a clue, especially with the level of amateur MMA nowadays. I genuinely feel like amateur MMA now is what pro MMA was 10 years ago.
Yes. Or none.
The skills are they're good. And so I tell these guys I need at least 6 months to a year, and that just depends on the person, of consistent, solid training. And I don't care how good you are, but if you're not showing up to the gym every day, I can't put my name on you. And so I think that's the hardest part with these fighters is consistency, because these guys have jobs, these guys have families. They've got every excuse in the book to not make it to the gym. So really, if what I'm looking for in all of my fighters is just show up to the gym. That's all I need. If you can show up to the gym and be ready to learn, we can work with you. But if you're showing up once, twice a week, I just can't do it.
No, and like you said, I mean, you can't put your name on them because, I mean, they haven't been training, and they're, I mean, there's a game plan. I mean, there's everything that comes up to par, man. But of course, man, I mean, the fact that you brought up that nobody else is fighting with you on that card, the reason I was asking was because we've had even pro fighters that are compete on the same card as their students, and it's like, man, they're like, man, I'm never again, because they're so busy trying to keep them ready and wrapping them up, and so it takes them out of their game plan, so that's smart.
Sure. For sure. And I think the last fight, I mean, and I got to be careful with how many fighters I'm putting on cards. I realized last fight, 3 fighters gets rough. 3 fighters on a card, trying to get them all wrapped up, trying to get them all warmed up. I feel like I'm neglecting, by putting so many on a card, I feel like I don't give them the attention that they need. So I've been trying to be a little bit more careful with that, and then bring in my assistant coaches as well to help. Because the last thing you want backstage is a fighter not feeling like they're getting the attention that they deserve,
No, for sure, man. I mean, I traveled this weekend, man. I went to San Angelo with one of the local fighters here, and I wasn't fighting, but just going on the road trip with them and watching them get mentally ready and warming, day of weigh-ins, and and I thought to myself, I said, man, you got to be a whole different person, man, because it's like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it, just the fact that it's like, hey, me and you are gonna fight on Thursday this time at this day. I'd be like, man, by that time that comes up, I'm gonna forget, But how do you do it, man? I mean, it's a mental game. So what kind of things are you doing to get mentally prepared?
It is, man. And so the main thing is training. The best thing that you can do mentally is making sure that you have adequate training. And I think that that's where a lot of my confidence comes in. I'm training ridiculously hard right now. I'm 3 to 4 times a day in here. The good part about owning a gym is that there's no times for me. I can be in here whenever, and I can bring in whoever. And then every weekend I'm out of town training as well. We have a affiliate with Val Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and so I'm there training every weekend. I'm here training every day. So the best thing that I do as far as mental prep is physical prep. Because at the end of the day, I know I've done everything that I can do to get ready. And as far as getting closer to the fight goes, with me, I will agree with you. I feel like the closer the fight comes, I heard a quote one time that was saying, the closer you come to battle, your contract with society becomes more strenuous. And I couldn't agree with that more. I feel like as you come closer, you start feeling a little bit more animalistic. You start feeling that your normal society roles, they're a little tiring, and so you feel like you're kind of trapped in a sense. But I love it, man. I love that feeling. I love the fuel it gives you. It's not every day you get to feel those feelings. You know what I mean? Like, it's so easy not to fight, and so it's tough sometimes to fight. And so to put myself back in this situation, it feels good. It feels like I'm who I'm supposed to be. And so when I'm in fight camp and I'm prepping and I have the anxieties come in, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
No, for sure, man. And one of the things, I mean, people always ask, like, oh, do you get nervous? I mean, I always ask, if you guys get nervous or anxious, because even pro fighters, I mean, people I know in the UFC are like, man, you still get it. You just kind of learn how to direct that nervousness towards, like, and energy for the fight, instead of like getting so nervous that when the bell rings, you're already tired mentally, physically. But man, as far as training, I mean, of course, you're doing physical training. I mean, mental training. When it comes to food consumption, man, what are you not eating?
Right now, so my diet is adjusting every week, and so I use an in-body scale at my local nutrition place, Complete 360. They track everything for me: my weight, my body fat, my water levels. It checks everything. So every Monday I'll go weigh in, and then I'll adjust my macros based on where we're at and where I'm supposed to be. This week I had to lower my carbs a little bit. I still have probably about 17, 18 to cut. Which is not a big deal. So we're trying to take it slow. We didn't want to cut it too early. So right now I'm lowering my carbs, still eating high protein, making sure I get my vegetables in. And then we're just tracking it number by number. If I can get within 13 the week of, I'm right where I want to be.
No, for sure, man. Because I mean, the weigh-ins, of course, I mean, that's a ceremony within itself, man. I mean, you guys got to show up. Do you know if they're going to have a ceremonial weigh-ins, or is it just going to be one time?
It's going to be one time. Yeah, they're going to do it one time at somewhere in Port Lavaca, some barbecue place in Port Lavaca. So it'll just be one weigh-in, and that's it. We'll be good to go, and that'll be 24 hours before the event. So probably around 6 o'clock on a Thursday.
No, for sure. And one of the things, and I mean, of course, it's a sponsor, so of course they're gonna have the weigh-ins there, man. But I always ask myself, I was like, man, how much does it suck for you guys to still be cutting weight, smelling all that food, bro?
Yeah, to me, I think some people probably have it harder than me, but to me, food's never been like, I'm not a foodie, so luckily I haven't had that issue. I mean, I could go all day without eating. I've actually got to make sure that I'm eating throughout the day to make sure I'm not losing muscle. So the weight cut's really not a big deal for me. I know a lot of fighters, they seem to struggle with it, but me, it's just, to me, it's part of it. That's where that hunger starts coming in. That's where that, like, who wants it more comes in, and that's where I like to be.
No, for sure, man. I mean, once again, I was at the fight over the weekend, and the fighter I was with, I was there, and he says, "Hey, man, if you want to eat, go ahead, man. I'll he was fighting at heavyweight, so he didn't have to cut weight. But I was like, no, man, myself, every time I cover events, especially weigh-ins, like, I don't need to after the weigh-ins. I don't know if it's out of respect or fear that, you guys will smell the food on me and beat my ass. But yeah, I always do that. But it's just like, I see what you mean, because it's kind of like fasting. I've done that before, where I go like the whole day and eat at night or later on in that day. But man, let me ask you, bro. I mean, this fight coming up, of course, like I mentioned, it's October 21st. Win, lose, or draw, man. I mean, after this fight, what are you looking at for the rest of the year?
Just going pro instantly. So I wasn't even going to take another amateur fight. My manager, he's out of Strikings in Killeen. He didn't want me to take this fight. He said, you know what, you don't need to be fighting amateur anymore. You need to be fighting pro. I've been sparring with UFC fighters. I've been sparring with, or people that just made it into the UFC. I'm sparring with high-level guys. I'm rolling with high-level guys. And he said, honestly, you just need to be pro already. Time's not on your side, and you're not going to be young forever. So you need to pull the trigger. You're good enough. Just go for it. So I didn't really want to take another amateur fight. But when Peter presented me the title, I figured, what better way to go up in there and really, get back in the cage. It has been a while. So getting that feel back as an amateur is kind of a no-brainer to me. Just get a good warm-up fight and then get ready to go straight pro. So right after this, I'm looking to book.
Okay, sweet, man. And of course, like you said, because I mean, this is kind of like a warm-up fight. So of course, you're gonna knock this out. There's a term that a lot of people use, man, and that's like ring rust.
Mm-hmm.
When they're fighting. Do you believe in that? Do you think that exists?
So I think to some people it might, and I think there's definitely different circumstances. I don't think that that's going to be an issue in my case. So when we talk about how long I've taken off of competing, it's been 6 years, right? Now I fight so much different than I fought 6 years ago. I haven't been out of the gym in 6 years. I'm in the gym every day, and I have been since I competed. So my whole game has evolved so much that I think ring rust might be true if I was at a lower level than I was when I was competing before, So now, just as far as mentality and technique and energy, I'm just smarter with everything than I've ever been. And that's just coming and doing hard rounds at other gyms, doing hard rounds at my gym. I just fight different. So, I think instead of looking at ring rust for me, I think I'm just excited for people to get to see the changes that I've made in the gym over the past 5-6 years, because it's a complete different fighter that's going to be stepping into the cage, and one that I don't think many people know unless you've been in the gym training.
No, and like you said too, I mean, if it was one thing, if you weren't sparring, if you weren't training the way you were, then yeah, it might be a factor. But I mean, you've been out there getting checked yourself, checking your students.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I think a lot of people did get confused when they saw that I was coming back. They're like, man, you took 6 years off of competing. And that really just came down to building a gym. It took a lot of energy. It took a lot of focus, but I've been in here training the whole time. So now that I'm at a position with the gym and the gym's successful enough, it's time to get back out there and do what I can do.
No, for sure, man. And one of the things I've noticed also, especially like last year and even this year, is that a lot of fighters that were fighting years back, they're coming back. And back then they had kids, they had newborns, so they had to leave the sport to kind of
Yeah.
work and money, of course. But now they're kind of like, hey, the kids are older, there's no pressure. It's just like the gym and getting back in there, man. So is that kind of like what happened to you? I mean, with the gym, like you said, like having to grow that?
Yeah, man. And so I actually had another fight scheduled right when COVID was starting. So I planned on getting into the cage right as COVID was starting. I was actually 7 days out from my fight. Weight was already ready, and it was a title fight as well. So I was ready to get in there. They ended up canceling the fight due to COVID. And so that kind of put a little pause on everything. And for a while there, as you know, there wasn't much events going on, for a good year and a half, 2 years, or however long it was. The UFC was doing things, but no amateur promoters were doing anything. So we kind of all got put on the back burner and kind of had to wait a little while longer. So ideally, I would have only taken 4 years off, but COVID and everything like that, and then coming back from that, it's just one of those things. But you have noticed as well, a lot of people are coming back that were fighting back then. But I think COVID's a big one on that. And then, just more eyes on the sport. I think right now MMA's got more people paying attention than ever. So I think people kind of missed it.
No, for sure, man. Because like you said, I mean, during that whole COVID thing, I mean, there was nothing. I mean, people were secretly going out and working out because it was just, frowned upon. I think Dana White, the only reason he was able to continue was he got that Apex and it was isolated and people were being tested and he went up far and beyond to make sure everybody was good, But yeah, I mean, as soon as the world opened up and promoters started putting up fights, man, yeah, I mean, the buzz came back. I mean, here in Texas alone, I mean, I could bring this up, but I mean, promotions from amateur to pro are popping up. And being a media guy, I love that because, and a fan, because it's like it gives you guys more platforms, I mean, of course, you don't want to have to wait 2-3 months to fight because the cards are getting full, right?
Right, for sure, and it's good for me too. I mean, I've been talking with different promotions going pro as well, and it's nice knowing that you don't have to necessarily go with a promotion that doesn't have your best interest in mind. And I'm not mentioning any names, but I think a lot of promotions out there, you just have to be careful with, if they like supporting their hometown person, which I don't blame them. It's their money. But it's nice having options as a fighter, with different promotions to have your best interest in mind as well.
No, for sure, man. And that's one thing I always bring up, man. And not, like you said, I mean, not to bring up names because I mean it is a business and that's where they put their money. But for me, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm always a big promoter when it comes to bringing promotions through the state of Texas. I mean, I've been pushing that hard last year, and of course, slowly but surely, a few have came through. But yeah, just because there's more options, there's more platforms. A lot of people don't want to sign up on contracts. A lot of people don't want to be tied down. So it just depends on what you're looking for in a sport. So of course, I mean, now when it comes to after this fight, I mean, not to overlook your opponent, of course, but going pro, are you looking to like say this fight happens? Are you gonna wait till the beginning of the year to get a fight?
Honestly, since I'm ready now, there's whenever. My goal is to go out there, come out uninjured. That's always the goal. But if I'm not injured, there's no reason why I can't take short notice fight. And as pro, when I've been talking to these promoters, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a guy that's going to come in and take a short notice fight, especially if you're a debut guy. The very few of the pro promoters I've talked to want to give you a full camp. They're looking for a guy. Hey, can you fight in 8 days? Can you fight in 12 days? And that's fine for me because I'll be ready, and that's the new thought process from here forward is stop getting ready and just stay ready. And now that I'm at that ready point, I'm just motivated to continue to stay here because it's too hard to be coming back,
Oh, no, definitely, bro. And of course, man, I mean, when it comes to going pro also, I mean, of course you'll be getting paid. I mean, but a lot of people don't realize that, you have to do your medicals, you have to do your, all your physical and all that. So when it comes to sponsors, man, I mean, do you have sponsors for this fight coming up?
Yeah, man, I have a ridiculous amount of sponsors. The support I have in this city it's just really, really, it's incredible. Right now, I think I have 22 sponsors, man. What's that?
Send me some, man. Come on, man.
I got you, man. I got you. But it's just been absolutely crazy. I'm really just blessed to have the support that I have. I was trying to look for a list of them real quick, actually, if you don't mind.
No, not at all, man. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, and I always give you guys you know, that option to plug them in because, of course, you know, they want to be able to promote it. I mean, I'm sure you guys do with your gym and your personal and business page, but it's always a good thing, man.
Absolutely. So right now we've got a good amount of sponsors, and I do want to just give a big thank you to you guys, because without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do anything that I'm doing right now. So I really do appreciate it to 4J Whitetail, Annex Fit, AOC Amusement, Bold, Brandon Evans at D1 Stop, Kim Dry, Compadres Inc., Complete 360, Don Marty Real Estate, Fibergenics, Force, Get Right Chiropractic, Infinity Well Control, Clayton Coke, L&L Catering, Mag Coatings, Mega Beauty, Red Ladder Construction, Remax Homes, Jamie Powell, thank you so much, South Texas Orthopedic with Jeremy Belk, Sports, Total Clean, Extreme Inc. And if I'm forgetting anyone, please just let me know, because I definitely want to give you guys the love as you guys have given me the love too.
Oh man, I gotta ask you, were you just reading that off the old phone book? You know, all the business. So man, and of course, a lot of these businesses are local.
Yeah, most of them are local, and a lot of them help me out in more ways than one. The chiropractor, Get Right Chiropractic, I go see him every week, and he's really been just keeping my body right and making sure that all the little aches and sores, I mean, they're gone. So I am feeling fresh thanks to him. And a lot of them are good services. But yeah, most of them are local services. They just really get behind the locals here. And that's why it's kind of cool for me to do one last amateur fight too, because even though you get paid to go pro, I get more sponsors to be local, you know. So I technically get more to fight here locally and support our local people. Now, obviously, I don't want to stay here, but it was a good motivating factor to stay, you know, one more amateur fight.
No, for sure, man. And I'm sure, I mean, you know, throughout your fight career, man, I mean, there's going to be some that are going to be coming and going. But I mean, of course, you'll be picking up more sponsors. And like you said, once you go pro, I mean, that's when you can reach out and start getting, you know, fight gear companies or, you know, just a lot of more companies in general. So that's always a great thing, man.
For sure.
And now let me ask you, bro, because of course, Victoria, Texas, man, are you born and raised in Victoria?
Yeah, man, I am. So I was born and raised here. I've been here my whole life. Ended up going to, I moved off to college and came right back. So I've been here from the beginning.
Cool. And I mean, the last time I went out there was actually to cover an event, and I didn't get to do much of the tourist thing to go and see. But what's out there for people going to the man?
Well, it wouldn't have been a long tour, bro. There's not much going on here. We probably, I mean, we got fighting. We've got more gyms here than, you know, we have McDonald's. So really, unless you're trying to go out to a bar or you're trying to train some martial arts, there's not much going on here, man.
No, I had to ask because the last time we went, I mean, we were gonna stay the day after, but we decided to drive back that night. So I was like, yeah, let's just head back.
It probably a good call.
No, for sure. And I was gonna ask you if you were gonna fight again for Tapper Scrap. But I mean, now that you're going pro, the reason I was gonna ask was because Peter was talking about the last time I spoke to him was bringing the event here to San Antonio, man. So of course, if you're not gonna be fighting, I mean, hopefully we'll see some of your fighters fight here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be my last amateur fight, 100%. But right now I have a total of 7 active MMA fighters in our gym. So you'll definitely be seeing them. I've got a lot of really good guys. And so I'm excited for them to go out and win their own titles and do their own things as well. So you'll definitely see Satori MMA out there. We've had 6 fights already for the year, which isn't a lot, you know, compared to a lot of gyms, but for us, it's a good start. And we've got 3 fighters fighting in 2 weeks. So that'll put us, you know, at a good amount of fights for the year. So we just look forward to growing. We're not going anywhere. So we look forward to putting our name on a few things.
No, definitely, man. And of course, man, one of the things that you mentioned, not trying to get too many fighters on the card. I mean, because yeah, I mean, if you're running around, I know. Once again, the event I was at over the weekend, you know, I'm the media guy, and man, I was all over the place because I was trying to interview this guy, get photos, and it was chaotic. You know, the state was late for something, so I mean, all the fighters were waiting, but yeah, I mean, so many things can happen come fight day, man. So of course, you don't want to be running around, you know, clueless, right?
For sure, man. It's rough back there, especially like wrapping hands. It's one of the things that I'm really good at. But wrapping 3 hands, it's taxing on your thumbs, and it's rough. It takes time, you know. I'm not probably the fastest. I take my time with my wraps and make sure my guys feel comfortable. And I wrap every single one of their hands different, depending on what they like. So just having some time back there to where I'm not like wrapping a hand and then rushing and then trying to get the next guy wrapped. You know, I think 2's a good amount of people to have on a card. 3 was kind of pushing it.
No, for sure, man. And let me ask you, bro, when it comes to the sport, I mean, you've only had 3 fights. I mean, this is going to be a 4th one. But has anything ever happened, like come fight day? I mean, you know, where you forget a mouthpiece or you forget your cup or, you know, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I'm usually pretty prepared. There's been a couple fights where I've came in, you know, with some injuries that we had to, you know, lidocaine up and make sure that, you know, I wasn't feeling anything. But no, nothing too crazy. I remember the first fight that I fought, the guy actually had all those issues though. I came in ready, you know, had everything ready to go, and he came out wearing basketball shorts and eating a burger from the concession stand. He didn't have a mouth guard. And I'm like, man, this guy's either really good or like has no clue what's going on. So that was a little bit crazy. But nothing crazy has happened to me. You know, you're always going to forget little things here and there. It's more happened as a coach. You know, I'll get to the event and I'll realize, oh man, I left my pool noodle, or oh, I left, you know, whatever I need, and then I'll have to run back to the gym. But nothing too wild, man. Just normal days. And I think the more we do this, the more you realize like nothing's ever going to go according to plan. And I know that being backstage myself, with fights ending early, you never know when you're going to go out there. You never know how much time you're going to have to warm up, and it's never going to go exactly how you think. So just being comfortable with the chaos is kind of the best mode to be.
No, for sure, man. And that's one of the things, like you hit the nail right on the head, because I mean, I've covered so many events, man, that I've seen, like you said, you know, the fights are going by quick and the fighters are like, damn, like I'm already next.
Mm-hmm.
Not even warmed up yet. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. But hopefully, like we mentioned, bro, I mean, this is going to be October 21st, Topper Scrap number 3, of course. Mm-hmm. And the title, man. So hopefully, you know, everything goes your way, man.
Yes, sir. I mean, I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you having me on. It's super cool to, you know, get coverage from guys like you in bigger cities, and that are doing really cool things in the MMA scene. So I really appreciate you having me on. It does mean a lot, you know, to not just me but anyone you have on, because you know, more publicity is good for everybody, and so we really appreciate you.
No, for sure. Because I know I'm planning on going to the event, man. So hopefully I will see you out there. I hope so, man. More than likely I'm going to go. But I mean, of course, this is going to be for the title fight. But man, I mean, Satori Mixed Martial Arts, you're going to be out there representing. I wish you the best of luck. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up, bro?
No, man, that's about it. I look forward to going out and you know, win, lose, or draw. I look forward to performing my best abilities, and I think that if I can do that, I think the whole city's in for a good show. I have yet to have a boring fight, and I will go out there to make it entertaining. So I just want to thank everyone for the support. I want to thank you for the support, all my sponsors, my family, my friends, and let's go out and have some fun.
No, definitely, man. No, of course. I mean, I am in San Antonio. Don't hang up yet, bro. Everybody out there, man. This is Spider, the Fight Card Podcast. Until next time, follow up.